When Pretty Woman was released in 1990, it quickly became one of the most loved romantic movies in Hollywood history. Audiences around the world fell in love with the magical story of Vivian Ward, a kind-hearted woman with a bright smile, and Edward Lewis, a wealthy businessman who slowly learns how to love. The movie felt like a modern fairy tale. Beautiful clothes, elegant hotels, charming music, and a happy end that made people believe in romance again. For many viewers, Pretty Woman became a symbol of hope, transformation, and the idea that love can change lives. But what most people never realize is that the movie they watched was only the polished surface of a much darker, more complicated story hidden behind the camera. Behind the smiles, laughter, and glamorous scenes was a film that almost never became a romantic comedy at all. The original version of Pretty Woman was not sweet or comforting. In fact, it was written as a harsh and realistic story about money, power, and survival in Los Angeles. The script was originally titled $3,000, a name that reflected its cold and transactional nature. There were no grand gestures, no fairy tale rescue, and no promise of true love. Vivian was not written as a playful dreamer, but as a struggling woman trapped in a painful reality. Edward was not charming or kind. He was emotionally distant and treated people like business deals. The story was meant to leave audiences uncomfortable, not smiling as the movie moved through Hollywood system. Powerful studio executives began to reshape it. They saw potential in the story, but feared its darkness would drive audiences away. Slowly, scene by scene, the edges were softened. Pain was replaced with humor. Desperation was replaced with charm. And realism was replaced with fantasy. What emerged was a Pretty Woman the world knows today. A film that hides its troubled roots beneath beauty and romance. But even after the rewrite, traces of the original darkness remained, leaking through the cracks during filming in the form of tense moments, emotional breakdowns, risky decisions, and scenes that were later deleted or hidden away. The production itself was filled with chaos, fear, and uncertainty. Julia Roberts, only 21 years old at the time, was nearly removed from the film before shooting even began. Studio executives doubted her ability to carry such a major role and searched for other actresses behind her back. Richard Gere didn't even want to make the movie at first, calling it shallow and unrealistic. Several scenes were filmed under dangerous conditions, without proper permits or with real physical risk. Some moments audiences remember as playful or romantic were actually born from exhaustion, anxiety, or accidents that could have ended badly. Even more surprising are the scenes that never made it into the final cut. These lost moments revealed Vivian's pain more clearly, her loneliness, her fear, and her struggle with addiction. They showed Edward as colder and more morally complex. But these scenes were quietly removed because they threatened the fantasy the studio wanted to sell. What remained was a carefully controlled illusion, designed to feel light, hopeful, and safe for mass audiences. This article explores those hidden layers, the forbidden scenes, the near disasters, the emotional struggles, and the secret decisions that shaped Pretty Woman. It looks beyond the red dress, the limousine, and the famous smile to uncover the truth behind one of Hollywood's most beloved movies. What you are about to read is not the fairy tale you remember, but the real story buried beneath it. A story of risk, fear, compromise, and unexpected magic. And once you see Pretty Woman through this lens, you may never watch it the same way again. One of the most famous scenes in Pretty Woman is the bathtub moment, where Vivian, played by Julia Roberts, sings and dances playfully in a bubble-filled tub while belting out Prince's song Kiss. On screen, it looks effortless, carefree, and joyful, a moment that perfectly captures Vivian's personality and charm. Audiences see a woman at ease, having fun, and expressing herself without a care in the world. Yet behind that iconic scene lay a series of difficulties, accidents, and creative decisions that made filming far from easy. The bathtub itself, which appeared so soft and fluffy in the movie, was not a simple bubble bath. To achieve the exaggerated, camera-ready foam that would hold under the intense studio lights, the production team used industrial-strength detergent, the kind normally reserved for washing cars. While this made for visually stunning bubbles, it caused Julia Roberts real physical discomfort. Her skin began to burn after prolonged exposure, and the strong detergent even stripped the red dye from her hair, leaving streaks of orange that required a complete hair redo the following morning. The combination of soap burns, long hours under hot lights, and the pressure of performing a musical scene in a confined space made the shoot far more challenging than it appears on screen. The chaos did not stop with the detergent or the hair mishap. The production team decided to play a prank on Julia Roberts during the scene. At the precise moment when Vivian had to dunk her head under the water, the entire crew, including co-star Richard Gere and director Gary Marshall, quietly walked out of the room, leaving Roberts alone in silence. The shock registered immediately on her face, capturing a natural look of surprise and confusion that could not have been scripted. After several moments, the crew returned, laughing at the effect, and the laughter blended with Roberts' performance to create a unique, spontaneous energy. What audiences see as a playful, confident Vivian was actually a combination of exhaustion, discomfort, and real emotional reaction. Every smile, laugh, and quip was influenced by these behind-the-scenes challenges, which added a layer of authenticity to the performance. Roberts' ability to maintain her character through pain and surprise is a testament to her talent and commitment, showing that even scenes that feel effortless are often built on significant personal struggle. This particular scene also highlights how physical risk was a part of production. The bathtub was slippery, and Roberts had to move freely while singing, fully submerged in water at certain points. The team had to carefully choreograph movements while balancing the visual effect with the actress's safety. Crew members stayed close to ensure she would not slip or be injured, but there was a constant tension during filming. Roberts, young and relatively inexperienced at the time, had to trust that the team would keep her safe while also delivering a performance that matched the vision of the director and studio. On top of that, the bathtub scene was a test of stamina, requiring multiple takes over several hours. The combination of hot lights, water, heavy foam, and musical performance created an exhausting environment, making the final product, what the audience sees as playful joy, all the more impressive given the real-world challenges. Beyond the physical risks, the bathtub scene also exemplifies how Pretty Woman balanced humor and tension. Director Gary Marshall was skilled at creating spontaneous moments that enhance the story, often using pranks, unexpected actions, or improvisation to elicit authentic reaction from actors. In this case, the crew's sudden disappearance gave Roberts an unplanned moment of vulnerability, which translated into the natural spontaneity seen on screen. Such moments blurred the line between acting and reality, showing how performance was influenced by genuine reactions rather than stage movements alone. In essence, the bathtub chaos symbolizes a combination of artistry, risk, and improvisation that helped make Pretty Woman memorable. The audience may see a simple, fun musical bath scene, but behind it was an intricate balance of physical endurance, psychological challenge, and creative direction, all of which contributed to the magic of the final film. This scene also underscores a recurring theme in the making of Pretty Woman, that the polished, glossy world of Hollywood films often hides significant struggle. Roberts' experience in the bathtub reflects the broader challenges faced during production, from dangerous shoots to emotional tension and high stakes. The movie's charm and apparent simplicity are the result of careful planning, quick thinking, and occasional improvisation under pressure. The bubble bath scene is therefore not just a playful, joyful moment. It is also a symbol of how perseverance, talent, and controlled chaos behind the camera transform potential disaster into cinematic brilliance. The audience may smile and hum along to Prince's song, but each laugh and smile carries a weight of real struggle and risk that went unnoticed by the public. While audiences remember Pretty Woman as a sparkling romantic comedy filled with charm, fashion, and fairy tale romance, the movie began its life as something far darker. The original script, written by J.F. Lawton, was titled $3,000 and told a story that was grounded in realism rather than fantasy. Instead of the glamorous Beverly Hills setting and Cinderella-style transformation, the script focused on the transactional nature of relationships in a harsh urban environment. Vivian Ward, the central character, was not the playful, hopeful woman audiences adored. She was a struggling sex worker, navigating a world filled with exploitation, emotional trauma, and survival challenges. She had no makeover montages or charming encounters to uplift her. Her week with Edward Lewis was cold, transactional, and devoid of romance. Edward, too, was not a swooning prince, but a detached corporate raider who saw people as tools and numbers, assessing what could be gained or lost from every interaction. The story ended with Vivian being left alone, her life unchanged except for the $3,000 she had earned, a stark contrast to the modern fairy tale ending that later made the movie iconic. This original premise was intentionally bleak, meant to examine the dynamics of power, wealth, and human vulnerability rather than entertain audiences with light-hearted romance. The shift from $300 to Pretty Woman required extensive intervention from the studios, especially Disney, who purchased the rights to the film and saw potential in turning it into a profitable, uplifting romantic comedy. Studio executives wanted to remove the harsh realities of the original script and transform it into a story that would appeal to mainstream audiences worldwide. Vivian's raw, streetwise character needed softening into someone witty, charming, and ultimately lovable. Edward's coldness had to become emotional detachment with the potential to thaw. Key plot points were rewritten. The week-long transaction became a week of unexpected connection, and moments that were originally painful or morally ambiguous were replaced with humor, charm, and romance. Even the ending was completely transformed. The original script's silent, tragic ending was scrapped in favor of a balcony scene, where Edward rescues Vivian, and the two meet in a symbolic, romantic gesture. The change not only altered the film's tone, but also redefined the entire genre, creating a template for romantic comedies that would dominate Hollywood for the next decade. The polished version became a story of redemption, personal growth, and love, masking the darker origins that inspired it. Despite these changes, traces of the original, darker themes remained visible during filming. Some deleted or hidden scenes hinted at Vivian's struggle and the challenges of her world before the story became romanticized. For example, early cuts showed moments of isolation, financial stress, and emotional pain that were later removed to maintain a lighter tone. These hidden scenes, now largely forgotten by the public, remind us that the heart of Pretty Woman was more complex than its surface suggests. Even the humor and charm often emerged from genuine tension or stress experienced by the actors during production. Julia Roberts' nervousness, Richard Gere's hesitation, and the director's improvisational techniques were all ways the filmmakers captured authentic emotions that were rooted in the original dramatic tension of a story. The interplay between the original dark narrative and the new fairy tale overlay added a unique depth, giving the movie a sense of realism even amidst its polished romance. The transformation from $300 to Pretty Woman also reflects the broader pressures of Hollywood filmmaking, where commercial considerations frequently reshape creative visions. The movie's evolution demonstrates how studios often prioritize audience satisfaction, emotional appeal, and marketability over narrative integrity. While some critics might argue that this process diluted the story's original message, it also allowed the movie to reach a wider audience and achieve the level of cultural impact it enjoys today. The decisions to soften characters, rewrite the ending, and insert humor were not merely aesthetic choices. They were strategic moves to ensure the film's success and longevity. The dark origins serve as a reminder of what might have been, a story of survival, detachment, and moral ambiguity that challenged viewers rather than comforting them. Instead, the film became a carefully balanced blend of tension, humor, and romance, preserving glimpses of its serious roots while presenting a universally appealing story. Ultimately, understanding Pretty Woman's dark beginnings allows viewers to appreciate both the artistry and the strategy behind the final film. The juxtaposition between the original grim tale and the polished Hollywood version highlights the transformative power of cinema, how stories can evolve from reality to fantasy while retaining emotional truth. It also sheds light on the challenges faced by the actors and filmmakers, who had to navigate these changes while delivering performances that resonated with audiences. In the end, the movie we know and love is a product of risk, creativity, and compromise, a testament to what can happen when raw human emotion is shaped into cinematic magic. It is almost impossible today to imagine Pretty Woman without Julia Roberts, whose radiant smile and natural charm became inseparable from the character of Vivian Ward. Yet, Roberts nearly lost the role before production even began. At only 21 years old, she was still relatively unknown in Hollywood, and studio executives worried that she lacked the polish and glamour required to carry a major film alongside a star like Richard Gere. The original $3,000 script may have cast her perfectly as a vulnerable, streetwise young woman, but Disney's sanitized rewrite demanded a version of Vivian that was witty, charming, and glamorous, a transformation Roberts' youthful intensity did not initially meet in executives' eyes. For several tense weeks, the studio explored other options, considering established actresses such as Meg Ryan, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Daryl Hannah, all of whom were deemed safer choices. Memos circulated that labeled Roberts too intense and unpolished for the film's new tone, putting her future in the role in serious jeopardy. Despite these pressures, director Gary Marshall was a staunch advocate for Roberts. He had seen her chemistry in auditions and recognized her rare ability to blend emotional depth with on-screen charisma. Marshall reportedly insisted, "She's the heartbeat. You take her out, the movie dies." His support ultimately secured her place, but it also meant that Roberts would carry the full weight of the film under the intense scrutiny of both the studio and the audience. Once filming began, the pressure on Roberts only intensified. Every scene was scrutinized not just for performance quality, but for its ability to sell the transformed fairy tale version of the story. Crew members later recalled that Roberts would shake before many romantic or emotionally charged takes, and her hands trembled so much that she often needed to grip props with both hands to keep them steady. Makeup artists would regularly redo her lipstick or fix her hair between takes to ensure that nerves did not show on camera. The anxiety was heightened by the knowledge that she had been nearly replaced, and that every scene could make or break her standing in Hollywood. Even something as simple as a romantic or playful interaction with Gere carried enormous pressure. Each line delivered or missed could reflect on her ability to embody the studio's vision. Yet, paradoxically, these nervous reactions often contributed to her performance. Her quivering voice, shy smiles, and slight hesitations added depth and vulnerability to Vivian, making the character relatable and human. What looked effortless to viewers was, in reality, a finely balanced act of channeling real anxiety into on-screen charm, proving that Roberts' nervous energy became a vital ingredient in her success. The intensity of the role was compounded by specific challenges on set. Some scenes required physical risk, such as driving Edward's sleek Lotus through narrow streets of Hollywood or performing the bathtub musical sequence. In each instance, Roberts' inexperience or lack of confidence intersected with real danger, forcing crew members to remain on high alert. On-location shoots frequently pushed boundaries, from filming in public spaces without permits to executing intricate costume and prop setups under tight timelines. Roberts had to navigate not only the demands of her role, but also the unpredictable environment created by these logistical and safety concerns. At times, her fear and vulnerability were so apparent that the director personally intervened, offering reassurance, humor, and guidance to help her regain focus. This delicate balance between protecting the actress and maintaining the authenticity of her performance was a recurring theme throughout production, demonstrating how much behind-the-scenes effort was invested in shaping what audiences perceived as effortless charm. Moreover, Roberts' nervousness intertwined with her creative contribution, giving birth to some of the film's most memorable unscripted moments. For example, the playful laugh, which became her trademark, was often triggered by subtle intervention from Marshall during filming, such as tickling her feet or whispering jokes. These carefully orchestrated moments of spontaneity leveraged Roberts' natural nervous energy, allowing it to emerge as genuine delight on screen. Similarly, many interactions with Gere, from impromptu pranks to unscripted gestures, captured a chemistry rooted in real emotional responses rather than pre-planned choreography. Through her vulnerability and willingness to embrace the pressure, Roberts transformed potential weaknesses into performance strengths. The combination of nervous anticipation, physical risk, and creative collaboration ultimately shaped the Vivian Ward audiences came to adore, proving that casting an untested young actress was not a gamble, but a decision that paid immense artistic dividends. In summary, Julia Roberts' near replacement, combined with a high-pressure environment on set, underscores the intricate interplay between talent, vulnerability, and support in creating cinematic magic. The actress faced immense scrutiny, real physical challenges, and personal anxiety, yet she channeled these factors into a performance that became iconic. Every quiver of the hand, every spontaneous laugh, and every moment of genuine hesitation contributed to the character's authenticity, proving that what appears effortless on screen is often the result of painstaking effort behind the scenes. Roberts' journey from near rejection to stardom highlights not only her resilience and skill, but also the director's vision and understanding of human emotion, which together turned Pretty Woman into a timeless classic point. One of the most memorable aspects of Pretty Woman's filming is how spontaneous, unscripted moments became cinematic gold. A prime example is the famous hotel suite scene where Richard Gere presents Vivian with a sparkling necklace. On screen, the moment appears perfectly timed and flawlessly executed, with Robert's infectious laughter making the scene feel effortless. However, the reality behind this moment was far more improvised. During rehearsals, Julia Roberts struggled to find the right tone for the scene. Her timing felt stiff, and the chemistry seemed forced. Director Gary Marshall, sensing that the natural charm of the interaction was missing, whispered to Gere, "Do something to surprise her." When the cameras rolled, Gere snapped the box shut on her fingers unexpectedly. Robert's gasp and ensuing laughter were completely genuine, capturing a reaction that could not have been produced by traditional acting methods. This single moment of improvisation transformed what could have been a staged, predictable scene into one of the most iconic romantic gestures in cinematic history. It is a testament to how flexibility, trust, and spontaneity can turn uncertainty into magic, and it illustrates the director's deep understanding of performance psychology, particularly in working with young, nervous actors like Roberts. The necklace itself added another layer of tension to the scene, one that the audience would never guess. The piece of jewelry was not a prop, but an actual Fred Jolier creation valued at over $250,000. 2 armed guards were present during the filming, constantly monitoring the necklace to ensure it was never dropped or mishandled. Every gesture Richard Gere made carried real risk. A single slip could have cost production a fortune and potentially halted filming. Despite these high stakes, Gere trusted his instincts and Robert's reactions, relying on genuine surprise and natural movement to bring the moment to life. The result was a delicate balance between danger and delight, a 1-second interaction that was simultaneously thrilling, unscripted, and entirely authentic. The audience sees only a playful exchange, yet behind the camera, the actors navigated both physical and emotional risks, blending performance with reality in a way that elevated the scene from simple romantic comedy to cinematic artistry. This scene also highlights Richard Gere's personal contribution to the authenticity of his character. Beyond improvisation, Gere brought his own musical talent to the production. In the hotel scene, where he plays a brief piano melody for Vivian, the tune was not scripted. He composed it the night before filming. This unplanned addition provided a layer of intimacy and depth, giving Edward Lewis a dimension beyond the romantic fantasy. Gere's ability to incorporate his personal skills into performance created a more believable and multifaceted character, one whose charm was not just superficial, but grounded in genuine emotion and creativity. The interplay between Robert's authentic reactions and Gere's improvisational gestures